This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Max and Mia podcast. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Rachel. And yep, it's Wednesday again.
It is Wednesday as always, which means we're right here with you. Whether you're heading to work, doing some chores around the house, or just trying to fall asleep.
No judgment if it's that last one. Honestly, same.
Same. But wherever you are and whatever you're doing, this is your English time. Just sit back, listen, and let it happen.
Okay, so how have you been, Matthew?
Honestly, a bit tired. Nothing dramatic, just one of those weeks where everything kind of piles up.
Oh, I know that feeling. When it's not one big thing, it's just like 10 small things all at once.
Exactly. Death by small things. But fine. I'm fine. What about you?
I'm pretty good, actually. I had a really nice weekend, which helped a lot. I went out, saw some friends, ate way too much.
Always a success?
Always. I feel like if you leave a meal thinking you maybe ate a little too much, that was a good meal.
That is the correct measure, yes.
Oh, and speaking of things that make you feel a little sick, did you see the World Cup ticket prices?
I did. I really did.
I just wanted to check, and I was looking at the screen like, is this real? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars for one game.
Don't even start with the hotels near the stadium. I looked at those too, and I had to close the tab.
The old close the tab and pretend you never saw it move.
It's a coping mechanism at this point, but it's just, the World Cup is supposed to be this big thing for everyone, right?
That's what they say. And then you go to buy a ticket and it's like, okay, which kidney are you selling?
Both. You need both, because once you're inside, that's when they get you.
Exactly. Oh, you flew 8 hours? That'll be $12 for a bottle of water. I get that everything is a business, but at some point it stops feeling like a celebration of football and starts feeling like a product.
And the people who suffer the most are just regular fans who have supported their team their whole life.
And can't afford it, which is sad when you think about it.
It really is. Anyway, we could talk about this all day and just get more and more annoyed.
Which, actually, not a bad episode idea for the future.
Noted, but for today, we've got some really good topics lined up, and I think you're going to enjoy this one.
We do, so let's get into it.
All right, so first topic today, and I want to start with a question for you, for whoever's listening right now.
A real one, not a warm-up question.
Not a warm-up. So here it is. When you hear the word change, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Is it something good? Something scary? Something you know you need but keep putting off?
Like, what's your gut reaction to that word?
Exactly. Just sit with that for a second, because I think people's answers are very different, and a lot of it says something about where you are in life right now.
Okay, so for me, honestly, my first reaction to change used to be discomfort, like a little knot in my stomach.
Really?
Yeah, I think I used to see change as something that happened to you, not something you chose. Like, change meant something was going wrong.
That's interesting, because for me, it was almost the opposite. I think I used to get excited by the idea of change. New place, new job, new start. It sounded good in theory.
In theory.
In theory, yes. And then the actual change happened, and I was like, okay, this is terrifying. I want to go back.
Right, because there's a big difference between wanting change and actually going through it.
Huge difference. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They know something needs to change, they can feel it, but the moment they actually have to do something about it, they freeze.
And to freeze here, just so it's clear, doesn't mean to get cold. It means to stop, to not be able to move or act because you're scared or overwhelmed. You just freeze.
Like a deer in headlights.
Exactly like that. And I think fear is such a big part of why people don't make changes, even when they really, really want to.
Because change means uncertainty, and uncertainty is uncomfortable. You're leaving something you know, even if that something isn't great, for something you don't know at all.
And the brain doesn't like that. The brain likes familiar. Even if familiar is a bit rubbish, it's at least known.
Rubbish, by the way, just means bad, not great. It's a British English word, but you'll hear it a lot. That idea is rubbish, or the weather today is rubbish.
Very useful word. But yeah, familiar feels safe, and I think that's why so many people stay in jobs they don't like or situations that aren't working longer than they should.
Because at least you know what you're dealing with.
Exactly. And there's even a name for it. It's called the comfort zone. That's the space where everything feels safe and familiar, and stepping outside your comfort zone means doing something new or scary that pushes you a little.
Which sounds great on a motivational poster, but in real life, it's genuinely hard.
It is. And I don't think the answer is just be brave and do it, because that's not very helpful advice, is it?
Not really, no. Just be brave. Thanks. Very useful.
So helpful. I think the more useful thing is asking yourself, what am I actually afraid of here? Like, get specific. Because sometimes when you look at it closely, the fear is a bit vague. It's not a real thing, it's just a feeling.
Right. It's like, I'm scared of changing jobs. Okay, but what exactly? Are you scared of failing, of what people will think, of starting over and feeling like a beginner again?
And when you get specific, it's a lot easier to work with. A vague fear is hard to deal with. A specific one, you can actually look at it and go, okay, is this realistic? Is this really going to happen?
And often the answer is not really.
Often, yeah. And look, I'm not saying every change is a good idea, because sometimes the fear is there for a reason.
That's a really good point, because there's a difference between fear that's telling you this is wrong for you and fear that's just resistance, habit, the brain saying, I don't want to do something new.
Exactly. And learning to tell those two apart is actually one of the more useful skills you can develop. Knowing when your gut is saying, don't do this because it's genuinely a bad idea, versus when it's saying, don't do this because it's new and scary.
Which takes practice and, honestly, a few mistakes.
A few, yeah. And I think the other thing worth saying is that not all changes have to be huge. Like, people sometimes think, I need to change my life, and imagine they have to quit everything and move to another country.
When actually, sometimes it's just waking up 30 minutes earlier, or calling a friend you've been meaning to call, or saying no to something you always say yes to out of habit.
Small shifts. And those add up, they really do. Over time, a lot of small changes look like a completely different life.
Which is a bit of a nicer way to think about it than burn everything down and start over.
Much nicer. And a lot more doable. Doable, by the way, just means possible to do, achievable, something that you can actually do. That plan sounds doable. Very common word.
Very useful. Okay, so to bring it back to the question we started with, is change good, bad, or just necessary?
I think for me now, it's mostly necessary. Like, I don't always enjoy it while it's happening, but I've never looked back on a real change and thought, I wish I hadn't done that.
That is a good way to put it. For me, it's similar. The change itself is uncomfortable, but what's on the other side is usually worth it.
Usually.
Usually. All right, and what about you listening right now? Is there a change you've been thinking about making? Something you keep coming back to? Drop it in the comments. You don't have to be specific if you don't want to. Even just, yes, there is one is enough. We read those.
We really do. Okay, should we keep going?
Yeah, and actually what we just talked about leads perfectly into the next topic, because a lot of what stops people from making changes, from doing new things, from even saying what they really think, is fear, and more specifically, insecurities.
Which everyone has, by the way. Everyone.
Every single person. So that's where we're going next. Fear and insecurities. Let's get into it.
Okay, fear and insecurities. And before we get into it, I want to ask you something. And again, this is for you listening too.
Go for it.
Is there something you've stopped yourself from doing because of what other people might think? Like, not because you didn't want to do it, but because of that voice in your head that goes, what will they say?
Yeah, more times than I'd like to admit.
Same. And I think that's one of the most common forms of insecurity there is. Not, I can't do this, but I can do this, I just don't want to be judged for trying.
Which is actually worse in a way, because it's not even about your own ability. It's about an imaginary audience.
An imaginary audience. That's such a good way to put it. Because most of the time, people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are.
Right. Everyone's too busy worrying about what other people think of them to spend that much time judging you.
Exactly. It's like everyone's performing for an audience that's also performing. Nobody's actually watching.
And yet the fear feels completely real. That's the thing about insecurities. They don't need to be based on facts to feel true.
Okay, so insecurity. Let's just be clear about what that word means because it comes up a lot. An insecurity is a feeling of doubt about yourself, a part of you that you're not sure about or that you feel like isn't good enough. It can be about how you look, how you speak, how smart you are, how interesting you are.
Basically anything. And everyone has them. Genuinely, everyone. The most confident-looking person in the room has insecurities. They're just better at not showing them, or they've done more work on them.
And I think that's actually an important thing to say out loud, because when you're feeling really insecure, it's easy to look around and think everyone else has it figured out, and you're the only one who feels this way.
Which is completely not true.
Completely not true. But the feeling is very convincing.
So where do insecurities come from? Like, why do we have them?
A lot of it goes back to childhood, honestly. Things people said to you when you were young. A comment from a teacher, a parent, a friend. Something that stuck.
It's scary how much a single comment can stick. Like someone says something to you at 10 years old and you're still carrying it at 30.
I know, and you don't even always remember where it came from. You just have this belief about yourself, like, I'm not good at speaking in public, or I'm not creative. And if you trace it back, it often comes from one moment, one person, one throwaway comment that they probably don't even remember saying.
Throwaway means something you say without thinking, without meaning it to be important. A throwaway comment is one you say quickly and then forget, but the other person doesn't forget.
And that's the damage. But okay, let's talk about fear specifically, because fear and insecurity are connected, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Right. Insecurity is more about how you see yourself. Fear is more about what might happen, what you might lose, or what might go wrong.
And there are healthy fears, like being afraid of dangerous situations. That's useful. Your brain is protecting you.
But then there are fears that aren't really protecting you. They're just holding you back. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of being embarrassed.
Rejection, by the way, is when someone says no to you, when you apply for something and don't get it, or you tell someone how you feel and they don't feel the same way. Being rejected is being turned down.
And the fear of it is huge. I think for a lot of people, the fear of rejection stops them from even trying, because if you don't try, you can't be rejected.
Which makes sense as a strategy, but it also means you never get anywhere.
Exactly. You stay safe, but stuck.
Safe, but stuck. And I think one of the most useful shifts you can make is changing the way you think about failure and rejection. Instead of, this means I'm not good enough, thinking, this is information. This tells me something. What can I learn from it?
Which is easier said than done, obviously.
Obviously, but it's a skill. And like any skill, you get better at it with practice.
And I think there's also something to be said for just doing the scary thing small. Like you don't have to jump straight into the biggest version of your fear.
Totally. If you're scared of talking to new people, you don't have to go give a speech in front of 500. You just say hi to someone at a coffee shop. Small, low stakes.
Low stakes means the consequences aren't huge. If it goes badly, it's okay. Nothing serious happens. Opposite of high stakes, where a lot is at risk.
Right, and building confidence works like that, little by little. You do something small and scary, it goes okay, and your brain registers that. Oh, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I can try something slightly bigger next time.
It's almost like training yourself, like going to the gym, but for confidence.
Confidence gym. I like that. And the other thing I want to say, because I think it's important, is that working on your insecurities doesn't mean getting rid of them completely. That's probably not realistic.
Right. It's more about not letting them make decisions for you.
Exactly. The insecurity can be there, you can feel it, and still do the thing anyway. That's actually what courage is. Not the absence of fear, but doing it even when you're afraid.
I've heard that before, and every time I hear it, I think, yeah, that's right. It's not about feeling fearless. It's about moving even when you're scared.
And you listening right now, I'd genuinely love to know what's one thing fear has stopped you from doing, or maybe something you did even though you were scared and it turned out okay. Drop it in the comments. Those are always the best ones to read.
Always. Okay, so we've talked about change, we've talked about fear and insecurities, and I think there's a very natural next step here.
Is there?
There is, because one of the biggest changes a person can make, one that involves a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of starting over completely,
Oh, I think I know where you're going.
moving to another country, which some of you listening have done, some of you are thinking about, and some of you think sounds either amazing or completely insane.
Maybe both at the same time?
Maybe both. That's next. Okay, moving to another country. And I want to start with a question, as always. Have you ever thought about it, like seriously thought about it? Not just, oh, it'd be nice to live in Italy someday while you're watching a travel video at midnight.
Very specific.
Very specific. But like actually sitting down and thinking, could I do this? Could I actually leave and start over somewhere else?
I think most people have had that thought at least once, especially when things get hard at home. Like, there's a version of it that's just escapism. Everything would be better if I was somewhere else.
Right. And then there's the more serious version, where it's not about running away from something, but actually moving towards something.
And those are very different motivations, and I think which one it is matters a lot for how it goes.
Escapism, by the way, is when you use something, a fantasy, a plan, a distraction, to avoid dealing with what's actually going on in your life. It's escaping reality instead of facing it. Very common, very human, but not always helpful.
And look, I've done it. I think we all have. But the question is this a real desire to build something new somewhere else? Or is it just the grass is greener on the other side?
Oh, the grass is greener, classic expression. It means you always think things are better somewhere else, in someone else's life, in a different city, a different job. But when you get there, it's just grass. Same grass, different place.
Same grass. And I think that's an important thing to sit with before making a huge decision like moving abroad. Abroad just means to another country. I studied abroad. She lives abroad. It just means outside your home country.
And if the motivation is solid, if it's not just running away, moving to another country can genuinely be one of the most transformative things a person does.
Transformative. That means it changes you deeply. Not just your situation, but who you are, how you see things. That experience was transformative for me. It's a slightly bigger word than just it changed things.
And I think it does change you. Because when you move somewhere new, especially somewhere where you don't know anyone, you have to figure out who you are without all the usual context.
Yes, this is such a big one, because at home you have your people, your friends, your family, your routines. They know you, and a lot of who you think you are is actually just a reflection of that context.
Right, you're the funny one in your friend group, or the responsible one, or the quiet one, and those labels stick. But when you move somewhere new, nobody has those labels for you. You get to just be a person.
Which is terrifying and also kind of freeing.
Very freeing. I think a lot of people discover things about themselves when they move abroad that they never would have found at home because they're forced out of their routine, forced to figure things out alone.
And the practical side is hard too. Like people romanticize it. They imagine the lifestyle, the food, the culture, and those things are real and wonderful. But there's also the day you can't figure out how to pay a bill because the website is in a language you don't fully understand yet.
Or when you're sick and you don't know how the healthcare system works. Or when it's a holiday and everyone else is with their family and you're just alone in your flat with a microwave meal.
Those moments are real, and I think people don't talk about them enough because they don't make good Instagram content.
And to romanticize something means to imagine it as more perfect or beautiful than it really is, to focus only on the good parts and ignore the hard parts. She romanticized living in Paris, but the reality was a lot more complicated.
Very useful word. And look, I'm not saying it's not worth it. I think for a lot of people, it absolutely is. But going in with realistic expectations makes a huge difference.
Because if you think it's going to be a permanent holiday, the first hard week is going to feel like failure, when actually it's just Tuesday.
It's just Tuesday. And the loneliness is one of the biggest things people don't prepare for, because building a new social life from scratch as an adult is genuinely hard.
So hard. As a kid, it's easy. You sit next to someone in class and suddenly you're best friends. As an adult, you have to actually try, and it takes time.
A lot of time and patience, and being okay with a bit of loneliness in the middle, which most people aren't great at.
And yet, people do it every day. People pack up and move somewhere completely new and figure it out. And most of them, if you ask them, say it was one of the best decisions they ever made.
Even with the hard parts.
Even with the Tuesday microwave meal moments.
Especially those, actually, because those are the moments where you find out what you're made of.
And what about you listening? Have you ever moved to another country, or is it something you're thinking about? What's the thing that excites you most about the idea? And what's the thing that scares you? Tell us in the comments, genuinely.
Please do. Okay, and should we keep going?
2 more topics, and then we wrap up. And this one is actually a really nice one to end on, because we've talked about change, about fear, about big life moves, and all of that connects to something a lot of people feel a little shy about saying out loud.
What they actually want, what they're hoping for.
Dreams, future goals, where you see yourself going, which sounds simple, but is actually one of the harder things to talk about honestly.
Because it makes it real. Saying it out loud makes it real.
Exactly. So that's where we're going next. Okay, dreams and future goals. And I want to ask you something straight away.
Hit us.
When was the last time you actually let yourself think about what you want? Not what you need to do, not what's on your to-do list, not what other people expect from you, but what you actually want for your life, for your future.
Whew, that's a heavier question than it sounds.
It is. And I think for a lot of people, the honest answer is, I don't really do that. Like, you get so caught up in the day-to-day that the bigger picture just kind of fades out.
And there's also this thing where people feel almost embarrassed to talk about their dreams. Like, who am I to want that? Or, that's too big. That's not realistic for someone like me.
Which is such a shame, because I think everyone has something, some version of a life they'd love to be living, but a lot of people never say it out loud, not even to themselves.
And saying it out loud is actually important, because when it's just a thought floating around in your head, it stays vague, it stays safe. But the moment you say it or write it down, it becomes something you have to deal with.
Something real.
Exactly. And that can feel scary, because then you have to ask yourself, okay, am I actually doing anything about this, or am I just thinking about it?
And most people, if they're honest, are just thinking about it.
Which is okay as a starting point, but it can become a habit, just dreaming without ever moving.
And there's a word for that kind of goal that you keep saying you'll do someday but never actually start. It's called a pipe dream. A pipe dream is something you want, but deep down don't really believe is possible. So you hold on to it as a fantasy, but never take real steps toward it.
I'd love to write a book someday. Okay, but are you writing? I want to start my own business eventually. Cool, but have you done any research? If the answer's always no, it might be more of a pipe dream than a real goal.
And look, not every dream needs to become a goal. Some things are nice to imagine, and that's fine. But I think it's worth being honest with yourself about which is which.
Totally. And the difference between a dream and a goal is usually just a plan. A dream is, I want that. A goal is, I want that, and here's what I'm actually going to do about it.
Which sounds simple, but that gap between wanting and doing is where most people get stuck.
And I think part of it is the size of it. Like, the goal feels so big that you don't know where to start, so you don't start at all.
Right. I want to be fluent in English. Okay, but that's enormous. Break it down. What's one small thing you can do this week? This is actually a great example for anyone listening, by the way.
Very relevant. And to break something down means to divide a big thing into smaller, more manageable pieces. You break it down so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. Let's break this down into smaller steps.
And overwhelming, just quickly, means when something feels like too much, too big, too complicated, too stressful to handle. I looked at everything I had to do and felt completely overwhelmed.
Very common feeling, and very fixable usually, once you break things down.
And something else that gets in the way of goals is comparison, which we touched on a little earlier with insecurities. But with goals, it's a specific kind of comparison, where you look at someone who's already where you want to be, and instead of feeling inspired, you feel defeated.
Like, they already did it, so what's the point of me trying?
Which makes no sense logically, but feels very real emotionally.
It does, and social media makes it so much worse because you're constantly seeing people's highlight reels, their finished products, not the years of work and failure that came before.
And I think one of the most useful things you can do is just stop measuring your progress against other people's. Measure it against where you were. Am I further along than I was 6 months ago? That's the only comparison that actually matters.
Yes, your only real competition is your past self. I genuinely believe that.
And what about you? What's a goal you've been sitting on? Something you keep coming back to?
Honestly, I want to travel more intentionally. Not just holidays, but actually spending real time in places, like a month somewhere, not a week.
That's a real one. And have you done anything about it?
I've looked at flights a lot.
Looking at flights counts.
It's a start. What about you?
Mine is more professional. I want to do more creative writing. Not for work, just for myself. I used to do it, and I just stopped. Life got busy, and it was the first thing to go.
That's such a common story. The things you do just for yourself are always the first to go when life gets full.
Always. And that connects to our next topic, actually, because a huge reason people don't work on their goals, don't do the things they love, don't make time for what matters, is that they feel like they don't have enough time.
Which might be true, or might be something else entirely.
Exactly. So let's talk about that. Time management, how we use our time, why we never feel like we have enough of it, and what, if anything, we can actually do about it.
Let's go.
Okay, time management. And I'll start with something I say to myself probably 3 times a week.
Go on.
I just don't have enough time.
Oh, same. Constantly.
And the thing is, I'm not sure it's always true. Like, sometimes it is. Life is genuinely busy. But sometimes I think it's more that I have the time, I'm just not using it very well.
That's such an honest thing to admit, because it's easier to say I don't have time than I have time, but I'm spending it on things that aren't really moving me forward.
Much easier and less uncomfortable, but probably less useful.
And I think the first thing worth saying is that everyone has the same 24 hours, which sounds like a motivational poster, and I know it does.
It really does.
But it's just true. The question isn't how much time you have. It's what you're doing with it.
And most people, if they're honest, have more time than they think. It's just scattered, a bit here, a bit there, 10 minutes waiting for something, 15 minutes between things, and because it doesn't feel like a big block of time, it gets wasted.
And to waste time just means to spend it on something that gives you nothing back. Nothing useful, nothing enjoyable, nothing meaningful. Just gone.
I wasted the whole afternoon on my phone.
Which we all do. And look, some of that is fine. You don't have to optimize every minute. That sounds exhausting.
Really exhausting and actually counterproductive. Counterproductive means it has the opposite effect of what you wanted. You were trying to do more and ended up doing less.
Right. Rest is not wasted time. That's actually an important distinction. Sitting quietly, taking a walk, doing something you enjoy, that's not wasted time. That's maintenance. Your brain needs it.
Yes, the problem isn't rest. The problem is the mindless stuff. The scrolling, the passive consumption, the hours that disappear and leave you feeling vaguely empty.
Passive consumption. That's a good phrase. It means taking in content without really engaging with it. You're not learning, not enjoying, not relaxing intentionally. You're just absorbing, like a sponge, but not a useful one.
Not a useful sponge. And I think one of the most practical things you can do is just look at where your time actually goes, not where you think it goes, where it actually goes.
Because there's almost always a gap between those two things.
Huge gap. Like, I work all day and then I just collapse. Okay, but what happens between 6 p.m. and midnight? That's 6 hours. Where did those go?
And when you actually track it, even just for a week, it can be pretty eye-opening.
Eye-opening means something that surprises you and makes you see things differently. Seeing how much I spent on coffee last month was really eye-opening. It opens your eyes to something you hadn't noticed.
And the goal isn't to feel guilty about it. It's just information. Oh, I spend 2 hours a day on my phone doing nothing in particular. Okay, now I know. What do I want to do with that?
Because even just taking 30 minutes of that and putting it towards something that actually matters to you, that adds up so fast.
30 minutes a day is over 3 hours a week. That's a lot of guitar practice, or writing, or language learning.
Very relevant example for our listeners.
Very deliberate. And the other big thing with time management is priorities, knowing what actually matters and making sure those things get time before the less important stuff eats it all up.
And to prioritize means to decide what's most important and deal with that first. You put it at the top of the list. I need to prioritize sleep this week. Let's prioritize the most urgent tasks.
And it sounds obvious, but a lot of people do it backwards. They do the easy, low-priority things first because they feel productive, and then the big, important thing never gets touched.
Because by the time you get to it, you're tired, or you've run out of time, or both.
Always both. And I think there's also something to be said about saying no, because a lot of people's time problem isn't really about time, it's about boundaries.
Oh, this is so true. Like, you say yes to things you don't really want to do or don't have time for because you don't want to let people down. And then you're resentful and overwhelmed and wondering why you have no time for yourself.
And resentful means feeling quietly angry or bitter about something. Not always openly, but inside. I feel resentful when I work late every night and nobody notices. It's that slow build of frustration.
And saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you're being honest about your time and your limits, which is actually more respectful to everyone involved than saying yes and then doing it badly or not at all.
Exactly. A clean no is better than a messy yes.
And look, nobody has this perfectly figured out. Not us, not anyone. Some weeks are great, and some weeks you get to Friday and wonder what happened.
Every week, honestly.
Every single week. But I think the goal isn't perfection, it's just awareness. Being a little more intentional about where your time goes, a little more honest about what you're actually choosing.
Because it is a choice, even when it doesn't feel like one.
Even when it doesn't feel like one. And what about you listening? What's the thing that eats your time the most? The thing you'd most like to take back? Drop it in the comments. We're genuinely curious.
Always. Okay, should we wrap up?
Let's wrap up.
All right, before we let you go, let's do a quick recap of everything we covered today, because we moved through a lot.
We really did. We started with changes, what the word means to you, why change is hard even when you know it's necessary, and why small shifts matter just as much as big ones.
Then we talked about fear and insecurities, where they come from, how they stop us, and what it actually means to be brave, which, spoiler, is not the same as being fearless.
Then moving to another country, the real version, not the Instagram version. The excitement, the loneliness, the microwave meal moments, and why it can still be one of the best things you ever do.
Then dreams and future goals, the difference between a pipe dream and a real goal, why comparison is the enemy of progress, and why saying your goals out loud actually matters.
And finally, time management, where our time actually goes, what passive consumption is doing to us, and why a clean no is better than a messy yes.
5 topics, a lot of real vocabulary, and hopefully some things that made you think a little, even if you were just doing the dishes.
Especially if you were doing the dishes. And if you made it all the way here, genuinely well done. That's a full episode of Real English, and your brain's been working the whole time, whether it felt like it or not.
That's the thing about listening practice. It doesn't always feel like studying, but it is, and it adds up every single Wednesday.
So keep showing up. Consistency is everything with language learning. You don't have to do a lot, you just have to keep going.
And in the meantime, leave us a comment. Which topic hit closest to home today? Was it the changes one, the fear and insecurities? Did the time management part make you feel a little called out?
It called me out too, don't worry.
Same, honestly. And if you're enjoying the podcast, sharing it with one person who's learning English makes a real difference. One share goes further than you'd think.
It really does. All right, that's us for today. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matthew. See you next Wednesday.
Take care, everyone.
To keep taking your English to the next level, click on the next video or explore the others we've made for you.